And today for our 20th SOAWAL webinar, uh, let us welcome Dr. Priyanka Sharma Khanduja. She is the Assistant Director, Student Life, Krea University, Sri City, Andhra Pradesh. And her topic is the role of growth mindset and intrinsic motivation in learning and academic integrity. So I think our teachers continuously listening to the webinars related to mathematics. So today they will be repressed uh, coming because it is a little diversion from mathematics. So I think everybody will enjoy today's talk. And let me introduce Dr. Priyanka Sharma by saying something about her from his brief CV. Uh, As I said, he is the Assistant Director to Student Life at Krea University, Sri City, Andhra Pradesh. Earlier, she served in Serenity Psychotherapy and Psychometric Testing Center as a psychologist for 1 year and later in UPES Dehradun as an assistant professor in psychology for 5 years. She is an experienced and outcome oriented professional with extensive academic and clinical experience in psychology. Dr. Khanduja pursued her PhD in psychology from HNB Garhwal Central University in 2015, and he also been graduated and done his postgraduate from the same university. She has pursued a foundation course in education of children with disabilities from IGNOU, certified by the Rehabilitation Council of India in 2012. She qualified UGC, NET, and USET exams in 2012. She received the Best Paper Award at the 4th International Conference on Recent Advances in Cognition and Health 2016. So, Dr. Priyanka, you can start your talk now. Thank
Thank
you.
you, ma'am. I think I'll just start. So is my screen visible?
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
visible.
All right. So today I'm going to be conversing with you all on the role of growth mindset and academic motivation in learning and related behaviors. The first question that would come to anybody's mind is that why do we need to have this conversation? We all have been learning, we all have been in academics, we all gone to school, we've been learning since the day we were born. Why do we need to have a conversation about what's learning? We've been doing it for so long. So the quickest answer to this question is that a lot of research has found that when we become aware of the process of learning, we tend to do better. When we are aware about the goals that we set, when we are aware about how to set our goals, how to direct our activity towards achieving those goals, how to evaluate our goal performance, we are able to do it better. So when we are aware about our learning processes, our learning outcomes are achieved in a better fashion. Now, this has become very important in the current scenario where our classrooms are not the only source of information available to students. So we have multiple sources. So the first task that comes to mind is how do you evaluate which sources to learn from? How do you evaluate the information that is incoming? So hence it's always better to enhance an individual's ability to locate and appraise information and to be more self-aware about the process of learning. So with that said, let's see what are we going to be doing today. So today we're going to be talking about what is mindset. We're going to learn about what is something called fixed mindset versus what is growth mindset. We'll talk about intrinsic versus extrinsic motivation. We're going to learn about their role in learning and academic behaviors. And then we're going to learn how we can develop a growth mindset and be intrinsically motivated as that is linked to better outcomes. Some people try harder in school. They persevere, they take on more challenging tasks, they see failure as an opportunity, they do not shy away from asking. But there are some people who would refrain from doing these things, even smallest setbacks, take them away from the process of learning. Either they say that the subject is too hard, I can't do it. So, what is this basic reason why people differ in these two things? So, the answer is there's something called mindset. There are a lot of reasons why people may not try harder in school, but a lot of research in the past few decades have shown that there is a powerful relationship between mindset, motivation, and achievement. And as you know, that academic achievement is positively linked with the ability of a student to stay in school. With school, I imply colleges as well. The people who achieve higher are tend to do better. People who tend to do better in school tend to stay in school. So students' beliefs about their intelligence and learning impact their motivation, their academic behaviors, like studying, seeking help, whether or not to cheat, responses to challenges and setbacks, and their academic achievement. Now, what is growth and fixed mindset? So, it is founded, the concept is founded by the research done by Carol Dweck. She wanted to know that why there are some people who are resilient in the faces of challenges and others are not. There are some people who will keep on doing a particular task even if they experience setbacks, while there are other students who will leave the subject, drop the class, leave school when they are fixed with, when they are faced with challenges. She found that generally people hold two sets of ideas about intelligence. One is fixed mindset, which is that intelligence is a fixed trait, you can't change it. You're born with a certain set of IQ, aptitude, they all fall under the category of fixed mindset. So when a student believes that you're born with a certain amount of intelligence, there's not much you can do it, all you can do is apply it, then the student is said to have a fixed mindset. Now, there are some other students who believe that intelligence is like any other muscle. The more you use it, better it becomes. So, the growth mindset people are characterized by the idea that you can grow your intelligence through effort. The more effort you put in, the more intelligent you'd become or better you'd become at a particular activity. Now, why is this important? Now, this is important because it leads to how we give meaning to the events around us. A person with a fixed mindset will look at events around them in the school in a different manner as compared to a student with a growth mindset. Now, the meaning that they make, it influences the narrative that they construct and it determines the behaviors they choose to engage in. So, example, a student with a fixed mindset would view the failure in school in a different light, hence would choose to do a different thing as compared to a student with a growth mindset. A person with a growth mindset would see failure as a signal that they need to work harder, they need to seek help, they need to try a different strategy. A person with a fixed mindset would see failure as the fact that probably they're not as good as somebody else. Probably they need to drop this class. Probably they need to leave this course. And probably they're not good enough. Now, the consequences of mindset could be understood in a few areas. They affect the goals that students have in school. How much do they value effort? How do they react to failure? And finally, their achievement in school. Now, for a person with a fixed mindset, their goal in school is to look smart. They feel that how they perform in school would show how smart they are or how not smart they are. Because the goal is to look smart, they would refrain from asking questions in class. They would refrain from seeking out help from their teachers or from their peers because their fear is that if they indulge in these things or if they do these activities, then they would come across as not that smart. Hence, they will continue hiding their inadequacies and not achieve their learning outcomes. As compared to a person with a growth mindset, their goal in school is to learn. So they know that they do not have all the skills necessary, and the goal to be in school is to learn those skills. Hence, they are more proactive in their learning. They'll ask more questions, they'll seek more help, and they would not get afraid by the idea that if I raise my hand in class, I might look stupid. So, a person in with the differences in the goals, they have an impact on how they're going to behave in the class. Now, a person with a fixed mindset does not value effort, because for them, if you need to put in effort to learn something, to do a particular task, that means, that implies that you're not good enough. For them, a person with a fixed mindset believes that an intelligent person would sail through classes easily. So if I need to work hard, that means I'm not as good as I'm supposed to be. This is in direct contrast to a person with a growth mindset. They value effort. They feel that if they've not succeeded, then what they need to do is that they need to be more hardworking. If they feel that they have failed in a particular task, it implies that more effort is needed. If they succeed in a particular task, they feel that they have put in more effort. They value effort. They do not see putting in effort as something that is negative. It also leads to their having an impact on their reaction to failure. People with fixed mindset react negatively to failure. They see failure as something, as a statement that you're not good enough for this, so you need to give up. So you need to find something else to do. A person with fixed mindset thinks that they have certain limited intelligent resources. Because they've not succeeded this time, hence they need to direct their efforts somewhere else. So they are more likely to give up in the light of failure. Whereas a person with a growth mindset sees failures as a communication that they need to work harder, because they can always grow. They feel that their intelligence can grow, their skills in a particular area can grow, and hence they would work harder. Now, it has all these factors with relating to their goals in school, the value they put in effort, and how they react to failure has a direct impact on their achievement. People with fixed mindset tend to have lower achievement rates, especially when they are transiting from one phase of education to another. People with growth mindset tend to achieve higher. People who feel that their intelligence is immutable, it doesn't change, tend to do worse when growing from a smaller class or from a lower grade to a higher grade. Because the thing is that as you move higher in education, your efforts need to go higher. You need to put in more effort. And as we see that people with a fixed mindset see effort as something negative, and hence their uh, performance over time sees a gradual decline. Now, the thing is that there was a large scale study done in Chile where they tested 10th graders, 14 lakh 10, 1 lakh 40,000 10th grade students, and they were asked questions about their mindset. They tested their mindset through statements like, you can learn new things, but you can't change your basic intelligence. People who agreed with it had fixed mindset. People who disagreed with had growth mindset. So people who had growth mindset were 3 times more likely to score in the top 20 percentile as compared to people with a fixed mindset. So it basically talks about, it basically shows that people with a growth mindset tend to achieve higher scores, tend to have better educational outcomes. Now, how does this happen? What is the basic process behind it? So it's a recursive process. Recursive means it exists in a loop. It's a self-feeding process. So in face of a challenge or failure, a person with a growth mindset is going to increase effort, because they view failure as a signal that they need to put in more effort. So a person with growth mindset would put in more effort, which would lead to higher achievement. This higher achievement would reinforce their belief that intelligence, ability, it can be increased through effort. Whereas a person with a fixed mindset, when they are presented with a challenge or failure, they reduce their effort. The reason being, they see it as an statement on their intelligence, their ability, that they are not good enough to do it, they possibly cannot do it. Hence, reduced effort would lead to lower achievements, which again reinforces their belief that intelligence cannot be changed. There's something, it's something they're born with it, and they students feel that they're simply not born with it. Especially, I think with mathematics, this idea works a lot in a this idea is shown in a much larger magnification. It's much more magnified. Basically, people believe that they have the capacity to do math or not do math. Hence, a lot of people tend to leave math when they are gradually moving from one stage of education to another. People from 10th would leave maths. There are people who start praying in class 8th that God, 10th comes, I leave maths. Then after 12th, a lot of people end up leaving maths because they believe that they simply do not have the capacity to do it. Uh, Now, let's talk about the other aspect of our uh, talk today. What is motivation? So, motivation is basically a set of theories that talk about how a behavior is energized and sustained. So there are multiple theories of motivation which talk about the concept of intention. How they basically talk about how people understand that what behaviors will lead to their intended outcomes, and what are the processes that compel a person to act in a manner that will let them achieve their outcomes. Now, self-determination theory is one type of motivational theory. Of course, there are many other. The um, the unique thing about this theory is that it talks about intention in a way that the intention could be self-determined or it could be controlled. Other theories do not talk about this facet of motivation. They believe that behavior is motivated, but then self-determination theory talks about that this motivation could come from within, it could be determined by the individual, or it could be controlled by other factors. Now, this theory also says that a person is motivated to act by three needs: autonomy, competence, and relatedness. Autonomy means every individual wants to feel independent. They want to feel competent, that they're good enough to do things, their self efficacy is higher, and they want to have relatedness. That means they want to have meaningful relationships. So, all the actions which either lead them to feel needed, they lead them to feel competent or independent, a person will be motivated to do those things. Now, autonomous motivation means that a person implies that a person has a choice to do those things, whereas controlled motivation means that the person has no choice but they are compelled to do those things. As we go forward, it will become more clearer. So, according to this theory, there are basically two types of motivations: intrinsic and extrinsic. Intrinsic motivation is when the individual engages in an activity simply for its own sake. They engage in a behavior because either due to the pleasure they are derived from that behavior or the satisfaction. For example, if I read a book, if I'm reading that book for the pleasure of reading itself, then I'm intrinsically motivated. People with intrinsic motivation would do an activity out of their own choice and no external input. Now, obviously, there are not many activities which are intrinsically motivating. So, there is another type of motivation called extrinsic motivation. Extrinsic motivation is when they're instrumental in nature because they help us achieve some other thing. The concept of reward and punishment is the simplest way of understanding extrinsic motivation. So we do things which we believe would lead to better some reward. For example, I'll study because I'll get grade A. That's extrinsic. So my behavior is instrumental in getting grade A. So that is extrinsic information motivation. I'm so sorry. So motivation is not that simple. There is a continuum from being forced to autonomous. So there are four types of basic extrinsic motivations. One is internalization. Internalization is simply that there are external factors that used to enforce an activity. Now what I have done is I have internalized it. I have made it my own. I have made integrated it in my own mind. Uh, for example, a student when they are starting to study, so the idea of learning tables, I'm sure I'm taking mathematical examples. Please excuse me if I say something that's not correct. So, the activity by itself is not interesting. So, initially, they would start to learn tables because either their teacher would reward them or punish them for it. But after a while, they do it even in absence of that reward or punishment. So, that means the student has internalized that activity. External regulation is fairly simple. It's outside reward or punishment. So I'm going to learn tables because tomorrow I might get a gold star. or I might get punishment in school. So that is external regulation. It is the most controlled form of motivation. Introjected um, regulation is when you feel guilty if you're not doing a particular activity. So what you've done is that you've not actually internalized the activity, you've not internalized the reason for doing the activity. You simply do it because you feel forced from inside. So I'll come to the class on time not because I'm punctual, because I will feel guilty if I don't come to class on time. When my teacher will scold me, I'll feel bad about it. So that is introjected regulation. As um, compared to identified regulation, what is identified regulation is you have taken the rule, you have started identifying it, you have integrated it within yourself. So you come to class on time not because you will feel guilty if your teacher is going to scold you, or if you will feel bad, or you feel compelled from inside. You do it because now it's a choice to be punctual. Nothing is, I understand that there's a lot of information that's being put. So it's simply that, some forms of extrinsic motivations are more under control of an individual. Some forms are outside the control. If it is only by through reward and punishment, then it is controlled. If you have learned how to appreciate it and you're doing it willingly, then it is still extrinsic, but you have some degree of autonomy. It becomes important in the subsequent discussion, because the thing is that not every activity can be intrinsic. So some of us might be pursuing higher degrees because we like to study. That's intrinsic. But some of us might be pursuing external higher degrees because we feel that this activity is important for me to either for my self-esteem or for my economic betterment. So I might get a good job. So if you're doing it because you're scared, then it's coercion, controlled. If you're doing it because you feel it is an important thing and then you need it to better your life, then it is still a better degree of extrinsic motivation. Now, what are the consequences? Now, the thing is that extrinsic and autonomous external motivation, they lead to better academic performance, achievement, and better learning behaviors. There are multiple studies that have said academic performance in terms of your marks, in terms of your regular learning behavior, and the tendency to cheat is lower. People who are intrinsically motivated or autonomously motivated tend to do better in school in all parameters. They show greater conceptual learning and better performance on memory tasks. This has been proven on school children also, college going students also. They learn concepts better rather than rote learning. They will do better at application of concepts, and memory tasks also they perform better. Apart from only your academic achievement tasks, they do better emotionally also. They show more positive emotions. They enjoy their academic work more. They are more satisfied with themselves and their school life. They have higher self-esteem and they have less anxiety, and they are better with coping at they're better at coping with failures. So basically, all in all, this kind of motivation leads to better outcomes both in your learning area as well as personal adjustment area. Now, social contextual influence of motivation. Now, social, obviously, a student does not operate in just an isolation. He operates in a social sphere. There are other factors that influence his behaviors. So all the social contexts that support our need for competence, relatedness, and autonomy, they will promote intentional actions. So competence, how can competence be improved? So if optimal challenges are provided to students, now optimal challenges meaning as per the not it see with growth mindset, it does not assume that everybody has the same capacity to grow. It just means that whatever wherever you are, you can always do better. So optimal challenges, so as per your ability, there should be challenging tasks given to you. If you do not take up challenging tasks, then your ability doesn't grow. Then performance feedback has an impact on competence. So if your feedback from your peers, from your faculty, from your parents is negative, obviously it leads to lower competence. And now there's an interesting thing. So if the feedback is around effort, and the feedback could be around intelligence. So you did well because you're intelligent. The second is you did well because you put in more effort. So effort based feedbacks tend to have better outcomes. And that is something that we somehow don't do because we do not think that it's important. If I'm praising somebody's intelligence, it should be good enough, right? But the point is that we need to provide feedback on effort based strategies. Then, relatedness, parental involvement, and peer acceptance are two things that promote intentional motivation. So, if you feel accepted by your peers, you will be more motivated. If your parents are involved in your academic achievement, then you are more intrinsically motivated. Now, this is only done in autonomy supportive networks. I now understand that it's become more technical, but to understand, autonomy supportive networks are those networks which make you feel independent, which make you feel that you have a choice. If everything, competence related, everything happens in a controlled environment, wherein you feel that you have no choice in the goal that you're supposed to achieve, then it will have a negative impact on intrinsic motivation. Now, the good news is both these things can change. Your mindsets can also change and your motivations can change. And it has been proven through rigorous research across cultures. Now, there's a very interesting study that happened with regard to growth mindset. So, in United States, when students are given growth mindset interventions, their effort increases and their well-being increases. But in Chinese culture, where students were already overburdened with work, which I think can be applied to Indian context also, where students have so much homework to do, they have so much so basically there are not enough hours to increase your effort. Growth mindset led to better emotional and esteem outcomes. It made you feel better about yourself. And whenever students have a growth mindset and they're autonomously motivated, they can do better. So what can we do? So how do these interactions shape our belief? So language that we use tells others that what we believe and what we value. For example, like I gave you the example about the praise being either intelligence based or effort based. So when I say you're intelligent, that I assume that I'm trying to I show you that I value effort more than intelligence. So our language that we use in our feedbacks communicates to other people what we believe in. For example, I said you should do better has a different connotation than when I say you could do better. Our feedback also tells us that what is expected of us and what goals we should have. That is why you should do better or you could do better are not very good feedbacks, because it doesn't tell you what area that you should be working on. So the feedbacks need to be communicating that what goals should an individual pursue. Now, growth mindset praise. So it says that do not focus on qualities that are commonly interpreted as stable, like talent and intelligence. It not only communicates to the other people that probably they do not have that quality, hence they will never be as good. It also communicates the person who's receiving that praise that it's not something that you're doing, it's something that you're born with. And hence the effort goes down. Focus on efforts and strategies. Uh, Appreciate people. If a student ends up doing better, try to find out that what led to a better outcome. Focus on their ability of improving over time in practice, like using terms like this, you've been practicing and I can see that it's paying off. Mistakes and being challenged. So a lot of times what happens is that it's like it happens in our schools also. The questions that we do wrong, they're seen as something that should not have happened. Rather than seeing them as a building, the area to focus on, it's seen as this mistake should not have happened, and hence we learn that mistakes are bad. I don't know how many of you would agree with it. Like we used to have dictations in our school. So some teachers would just give us marks and good, very good, poor, very poor, whatever. And some of them would make us write those terms which we spelled wrong 5 times, 6 times. There also the problem was that this exercises of doing correction was seen as something that was shameful. So it reinforces the fact that I should not have made mistakes. But on the other hand, the whole idea is in school is to learn, and the process of learning is not knowing what's to be done and learning through our mistakes that what's to be done. So our praise, our feedback should focus on effort-based strategies. Now it says that how can you increase autonomous motivation? Now, autonomous motivation, research has found that negative feedback on anything obviously has a negative impact, but positive feedback on compulsory activities has a lesser degree of intended effect than for positive feedback for self-initiated activities. When students decide to engage in activities themselves, they choose a project themselves, they choose their own deadline, they tend to do better. It increases their autonomous motivation. Effort based positive feedback also increases your autonomous motivation. Now, how can you do that? Now, the thing is that more participation and choice in decision making process of a classroom is required. Currently, I know the system is that you decide on your lesson plan before the semester commences. You give it to your students. Uh, some people will be nicer. They'll give you a list. They'll tell you you can choose your own projects. Some will be less nice. They'll still give you a list. Ki choose a project between them amongst these topics. Some would give you the topic also. So it says that research has found that when a student feels that they have more participation or they more choice in the decision making process of their learning, they tend to become an equal stakeholders and are more motivated to participate in it. Otherwise, it becomes a chore that I need to do it, I'll do it. So, participation and choice is important. Non controlling language and feedback. The feedback should have at least a perception of choice that you could do it, could and should. Once again, here the question comes that when you say you should work harder in math slash science slash whatever area. Should means the person has no choice. But when you say you could do it, it implies that they have a choice. And when they have a choice, they tend to do better. Make the value of activity known. This works. So studying is perceived as boring because one, right from the beginning, some people start associating the act of studying as something that's not good. So they start bribing their children. So if you get 10 on a test, I'll give you uh, a toy, a gold star. So what we are reinforcing here is that this activity is not interesting. So you need to do it for an external reward. But the point is the external reward become less and less valuable over time. So I'm sure in college, nobody gives you a good on test. Even if you get a good, it's not as exciting as it was when you were in class one. So if you have a conversation around why the activity is valuable, it increases the stakes a person has in doing in that activity. For example, uh, if you understand that doing better on your degree would improve your chances for upward social mobility, so you would study more. You would know that why studying is important. Studying is not important to get a gift at the end of the this thing. So if you understand the value of the activity is important, then this creating autonomic supportive structures around classroom, this is something that is a conversation that needs to happen at a much larger level. So research has found that students believe that they have an autonomy supportive structure if they feel that their teachers are promoting autonomy, their teachers are letting them do things based on choice. Now the problem here is this perception of autonomy between student and teacher is influenced by how autonomous the teacher feels in the classroom. But the problem is that all the administrations and the governmental agencies give very less autonomy to the teacher. And somehow the conversation is that the student performance is dependent or is influenced by teacher performance. So we'll evaluate a teacher through student performance. So it makes the teacher feel less autonomous. When the teacher feels less independent, when the teacher feels that they have less choice, then they create the same control based environment in their classroom. So a lot of us have had to get our see here. I'm not raising questions on any mechanisms. We all are product of the same social structure, but we're trying to understand that how it could be made better. The current situation is a university needs to get approval on things from UGC. Departments need to get approvals from various agencies, and the faculty needs to get approval on their classroom syllabus, classroom teaching, their course plans from the department. So this entire structure has less and less autonomy. And then the institution also feels that they are being burdened by the expectations of the parents. Parents keep asking, what are you doing? What are you doing? So the autonomy in this entire setup is very low. And it is counterproductive to the activity that we are doing. So autonomy structures around classrooms need to be done at a policy level. When the teacher would feel autonomous, they would create such structures, the idea of choice and feeling confident in the child's ability, which would lead to better learning outcomes. In the West, there are many schooling systems that have done away with testing completely. They have done away with timetables. They have no classrooms. So it's basically the student decides what they have to learn, and they have supportive lecturers. So when I was reading about this, it made me feel very weird because that's not the area, the kind of environment that we've come from. But students have reported better outcomes in such learning environments. So probably we need to have a think that what we could do better to motivate. So that's why I felt it was necessary to initiate a dialogue around the idea of learning and how can we make this exercise more productive, because most of us are engaging in it in a manner that has been done from decades ago. Some of us achieve excellent outcomes through it, a lot of us do not. Then we have surveys where people say we have degrees but not skills. So we need to, I think, have a conversation around that. So with this, I would really appreciate that if you could ask some questions, and I would be happy to answer them. It's basically my whole reason to throw so many things at you was to at least make us aware about how this activity of learning could be approached from a different angle. So anything, I'm open to
Yeah.
questions.
Thank you, Dr. Priyanka Sharma Khanduja, for this nice and wonderful talk. So, audience, do you have any questions? Please ask the speaker.
Ma'am, I have one question. So,
Yes.
first of all, thank you for delivering such a good lecture. It helped me a lot, especially for six mindset and growth mindset. So, I wanted to ask you whether can you suggest me some reference from which you did this? I mean, is there any book, particular book for that?
Yes, yes. There's an excellent book I by Carol Dweck, How Mindsets Work. I think that's the name. So Dweck is Dweck. So she was the one who started studying this, and growth mindset is an excellent area that's growing, especially in educational research, and that is something that I'm also pursuing to understand that how you could link intrinsic motivation and growth mindset in improving learning outcomes and decreasing academic cheating, which is, at least I know that academic integrity is on a downfall these days. You keep hearing about reports which say 70% of the PhD work plagiarized, blah blah blah. So that's something that I thought we need to look into, that how to stop people from engaging in such things.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. I think it is a book. I googled that what you said. It is a
Okay.
Carol S. Dweck. Yeah,
Carol Dweck.
mindset. Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Uh,
Ma'am,
Yes.
So
Yeah, actually, in the initial slides, you told that there are two mindset, fixed one and the growth mindset. So obviously, by some points, it was quite evident that growth mindset has lots of positive points over the fixed mindset. So everyone would like to have a growth mindset. So my question is like how to be aware of this, like whether I have a fixed mindset or a growth mindset, and how to transform one from a fixed mindset to growth mindset.
See, there's a the thing is that you could do this. There are many. Carol Dweck has developed a questionnaire which is available online. I wanted to do it here, but somehow because of my other commitments, I couldn't find out how to do a poll here. So if you're very interested, you could write to me. You could find it online. You could find out your mindset. So people wanted to know that how growth mindset can be developed. So they did a series of experiments which were very interesting. So basically, the idea when you transplant this idea into somebody's head that intelligence is something that can be worked upon, the idea of neuroplasticity, just being aware of this idea led people to develop a growth mindset. So what they did is that they gave students two articles to read. One set of students were given an article on fixed mindset, another set on growth mindset, and then they were asked to do a task. And they were, irrespective of their performance, they were told that you failed.
Like
And then
means
choice
self-assessment.
then they were given a choice, would you like to do it again? So people who read about growth mindset were more likely to engage in that task again. So just by becoming aware that you can do better and effort works, even that helps in growth mindset.
Okay. Thank you, ma'am.
Okay, Dr. Priyanka.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, and just I want to know, there is a book called The Secret by Rhonda Byron.
I've
Have
heard
you?
about it.
Yeah, yeah. So we just long ago I had read, gone through that book, and yeah,
You can see
it's
here. I have that
yeah,
book. I'm
yeah.
reading currently.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. A very, very nice book. Actually, that also gives. So, just I was asking you,
Yes.
it is been told that that book, if you read that book, your mindset will prosper, or it may lead to growth mindset, I think. So, you have any comments on that?
See, the thing is that the idea that you can change it may come from a variety of sources.
Okay.
But the
Hmm.
importance is that you get the idea that things can change.
Yeah.
So even the secret is about transforming your life by believing that things can change, I think.
Yeah.
I would like to add, ma'am, for the
Yes.
information of HOD, ma'am, the secret book tells about the law of attraction. It's like
Yeah.
you will get whatever you want. I mean, this in short.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I had gone through that book,
I
and
think the
something
similar,
I think,
yeah,
yeah,
similar
mm,
sentiment is expressed by Paulo Coelho also in one line that, if you want something
mm,
really badly, the universe will conspire.
yeah. Mm.
Positive
And
psychology is
I
very
have
interesting.
one more question. I have one
Yes,
more
ma'am.
question because as it is your Krea University Sri City, so it is linked to our Sri Sri Ravi Shankar ji.
No, ma'am, no,
No,
no.
but it looks like that Krea University Sri City. So I thought it is linked to
Even
Sri
I
Sri
thought
Ravi
that
Shankar ji.
when I was joining this
Yeah,
place, but Sri City
yeah,
is
yeah.
uh, SEZ, Special Economic Zone, with no link to that
Hmm.
foundation. And I think
Okay, okay.
chosen the name Kriya because they wanted to talk about the power of action and
Yeah.
transformation.
Okay, okay. Thank you, thank you. So any other questions?
Mr. Atanu Maji has
Okay.
raised hand.
Yeah,
Atanu
I
Maji,
think
sir. Atanu, sir. Okay,
Akasmika has raised her head.
okay.
No,
Please,
ma'am.
Akasmika,
Akasmika.
Yes, ma'am. So thank you. First of all, thank you, Dr. Priyanka. It's a very nice talk. Actually,
thank
I
you so
have
much.
one doubt from the
Yes,
first two slides, like the similar question that Dr. Priyanka asked, like difference between your fixed mindset and your growth mindset. So I have one question. Suppose
yes,
in one example, suppose one student has taken admission in an engineering college and
yes,
he is doing very good. but
Yes.
at some point he felt that he is not meant for this. So then he went for some other options. Like, so is it a fixed mindset or growth mindset? Means the students should experiment in their choices or not?
I think there was some problem with the internet, but I'll just recapitulate. So you
Akashmika,
were
have you switched on two phone? Link connected with two phone? I think disturbance is coming due to that only.
Okay, okay.
so you want to know that a person who's doing well in a particular activity decides to choose another.
Yes.
So this is not linked to growth mindset. Growth mindset is basically the idea that you can work on your abilities and grow in any field.
No,
Some
ma'am.
people, yes,
Means he, if he is in engineering background,
yes,
and if he has already completed his 2 year, and
yes,
in his third year, he felt that he is not meant for engineering, and he is not doing good, and he is also not interested to do good in that engineering field,
yes,
and if he wants to do to experiment in other fields. So
yes.
is it a growth mindset or a fixed mindset?
This is not growth. This is a question to do with more about the need for autonomy. So we need to feel independent, possibly, quite possibly, because I don't know all the variables in this case. It could be the fact that the person entered engineering through coercion rather than choice, and probably realized, see, our life keeps changing, probably realized that that this is not something he wants to do in his life anymore,
Yes.
and
So
that's why he decided to pursue something
we should
else.
experiment in our choices also, right? So in that
Yes, the
sense, if
idea of choice is very important in life. But then again,
yeah,
see, I've had these students who've come to me and told me that, their parents put them in a particular course, what to do. So here also the idea is what you think about a particular situation very important. So what I've felt is that I've always counseled them that, a degree will not hurt your chances anywhere.
yes,
So they need to reevaluate their life, that would a degree help them? So with an engineering degree also you can pursue other things. The degree would be helpful. So as a teacher, I felt that rather than telling them that no, to leave now and go and do whatever you like, it's better that to also think about the option of completing your degree and then pursuing the other things, because a degree is a fallback in life.
so
It's a
actually,
guarantee, it's a safety net,
giving, yes, yes, yes. So
it's a
actually
safety
giving
net.
up something is like, first we have to see for which reason we are giving up.
Yes.
Okay.
And sometimes, they if they feel that they have a choice to complete the degree, they feel better about it.
Yes.
Yeah, I'll finish this and then I can do other things also. Idea that you have a choice is important for human beings.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Akashmika ma'am. There is a question from Dr. Sai Gopal. I'm just forwarding it. He
Yes,
could not connect it. So this is an informative question. So
yes,
I'm also interested about this. Like we have seen in India, uh, there are uh, fixed mindset and growth mindset people both exist. Same for intrinsic motivation and extrinsic motivation. So, ma'am, is there any survey done on Indians, like how many uh, or how much percentage of Indians have fixed mindset and how much
I think
is?
the evidence is anecdotal. There's no large base studies. Also, the problem I think with Indian research a little bit is that it's not very accessible. So right now, if I sit on Google Scholar, I find
Mhm,
foreign researchers easily accessible.
mhm,
Indian research is not that well, and so far I've not come across a large scale study or
mhm.
a survey undergo giving details on this. That is why I find it's an interesting area to explore. The
Yes,
problem
yes.
is Indians do have a growth mindset, but
Mhm.
autonomous motivation is something that is lacking. We do not have very autonomy
Yeah.
supportive structures.
Mhm, mhm.
Yes, that is one thing. And if you have a growth mindset and you do not have autonomy, it doesn't work well. It kind of negates the good with the bad.
Yeah.
Okay. And ma'am, there is one question from my side.
Yes.
Uh, is passion it, related to somehow to intrinsic motivation?
So things that you're passionate about, that means you're intrinsically motivated and you'll end up achieving better outcomes
Yes,
always. So passion is you do that thing for its own good. That's the scientific word is intrinsically motivated.
sure.
Yes.
Most of us drive by extrinsic motivation. Uh, means,
I'll share a example. I'll share my own experience with you. See, the thing is that the problem here that why people are not that passionate about academics
Mhm.
is that the way we bring up our children and the way we have been brought up. So
Yeah.
every child loves to scribble, draw, color. But what we do is that this activity by itself is pleasurable. But we start attaching external rewards to it. So we start praising the child, giving them some gift, verbal reward when they draw well. So they start getting attracted to the reward, and somehow the passion in the activity gets reduced.
Mhm.
So all of us in class, we love to color, but by the time we come to class 10th, drawing classes are not that interesting. So it's not that children are not interested in an activity, it's the system around it has made it less intrinsically motivating.
Okay. Thank you, madam. Uh, Audience, if there any question, please ask.
So
So
I
you
think
may share, yeah, you may share my email ID if anybody has anything that they would want to discuss around this area.
Sure,
They want to know their own mindset and are unable to find the relevant questionnaire online. They can reach out to me, and I'll be very happy to help them out.
sure, sure, ma'am.
Yes.
okay. Thank you, madam. Thank you
Thank
so
you,
much.
ma'am.
Really, it is a nice topic and refreshing, nice and refreshing topic today,
Mhm.
and very good interaction session. This was actually,
Yes,
and I think everybody must have enjoyed those who have participated into this webinar. And so now I tell my colleagues, let's have growth mindset because except besides our career, we can have good health and good well-being, better well-being.
Yes.
Okay. So thank you, Dr. Priyanka. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, my dear colleagues.
I would like to thank
Um,
both of you for this excellent opportunity. I was a bit worried about how it will be received, but I'm very happy. Thank you.
it's all right, madam. It is really a nice presentation from your side, actually. We enjoyed, actually.
Okay.
Thank
Thank
you,
you.
everyone. Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Yeah,
madam.
everyone.
thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.